Hi, I'm Sam. About 5 years ago, my whole world was turned upside down. More on that later, but let's just say in what was supposed to be the happiest time in my life, I felt totally lost. You're listening to or watching my show, where we'll be talking with friends in healthcare, wellness, and holistic healing about real self-care. I'm not talking about pedicures and bubble baths. We're talking true acts of care to maintain our physical and mental health so we can truly live fearlessly and fulfilled. Say it with me. Self-care is my job. Hi, everybody. Here we are back again for another episode of Self-Care is My Job. I'm Samantha Long, host of the show, and I have an awesome friend with me that we're going to be talking with today. Her name is Krista Kathleen. She is a life coach and a business mentor, and she helps women start their own life coaching businesses. So, as you can imagine, it's clear how we connected because I've been following Krista and her content for a while now. She's this awesome person. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll talk about why we're here today and like what we're going to focus on. So Krista, take the floor. Let us know, a little bit about your life, where you are, where you're from, what's going on with you, but like how did you get here? Like how did this happen for you that you ultimately became a life coach and a business mentor?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on
Thank
today.
you.
This is so fun already. And yeah, I'd love to share my story. And actually, this story is going to be released in my first book coming out here pretty soon. So
Yes.
the book is called Beyond the White Picket Fence, Breaking Out of the Life Others Expect You to Live. And yeah, I really just I put it
Hallelujah.
all out there.
Like, oh, we could
Yeah.
just like, that's it. Like, that's the whole thing.
hmm
Breaking out. I love it. Okay, continue.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, if anyone wants the whole story, it's going to be in the book.
Mm.
But a short version of that story is I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm at right now. Went to nursing school because my parents wanted me to become a nurse. Got married to a military guy right out of nursing school. Basically, started creating this very beautiful white picket fence life. I had a big house, two dogs, two cars, a stable nursing career. Like, on the outside, everything looked great. On the inside, it was miserable. And I was suffocating and I didn't know how to ask for help because I didn't know what was wrong. And I would try to talk to people and say, like, something doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like it's my life. And no one like could understand what was going on. And they would say, like, you should just be grateful. You should just be happy. And
Mm.
so I always say my hurricane year started in 2016. And that is when I lost my nursing job and I got divorced all in the same week. And I like to say that that was the universe coming in and basically intervening because I wasn't courageous enough to do anything on my own. I didn't know
Mhm.
how to take action. So the universe had to take action for me. And then after that was when I said goodbye to my former life. I sold all my things. I left the United States. I traveled all over the world for 2 years and worked and lived in almost 50 countries. And it was really just an opportunity to reinvent myself at 30 years old and figure out who I really was and what I really wanted. And I had to, you know, set like the book title, break out of the life that everyone else wanted me to live so I could start to figure out, what did I want moving forward. And during that time was I was working with my first life coach, and then I loved the work that we were doing together, and I had never felt so witnessed and heard and acknowledged in the way that she did for me. And I was like, I want to do what she does. And
Mhm.
that's when I started researching online life coach training programs and decided, okay, I'm going to be a life coach. This is my purpose. This is what I was meant to do. I feel like I've coached people my whole life anyways. And so I really started that next career while I was traveling. And ever since then, I've been running my online coaching business full time, right? I can do it from anywhere in the world, which is
It's
amazing.
amazing, yeah.
It's so funny. Like when the pandemic hit, everyone, was like, oh my gosh, now we have to learn Zoom and now we have to figure out how to transition online. And that had already been my world and my life for so long. So
Yeah.
It's kind of nice now that everyone knows what Zoom is, and they kind of understand what I do when I work with people online now. So
Yeah.
it's a
I'm
bit more
sure that
normalized.
beforehand people were probably like, well, you don't do this in person with people, you know what I
Right.
mean? But, and there's a benefit to being in person, but I think, and I'm sure we'll get into this, it's really about whether you can, open yourself up like both ways, right? Like coach and client, whether you can open yourself up enough, be vulnerable enough, allow for that connection to the point where it doesn't really matter if you're in the same room together. Like
Mhm.
we can break through that. That's so great that you were able to continue in your online space. And I cannot Wow. Like, so many things you just said. Not I knew that me and you, like, had some serious, like, synchronicities with our stories. I can't even I won't go down, every, little thing that tipped off for me, but I can tell you that I come from the corporate world, even though I'm in the wellness and self-care space now. And a little over, well, probably about 6 years ago now, I was laid off from my position in publishing after a 10-year career when I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter. And
Wow.
that for me, like, so you're, talking
Oh
about the same thing of
gosh.
like, that was the end of your nursing career. And it was like, sort of divine intervention coming in
Mhm.
because they're, yeah, exactly. I was not exactly fully aware of in what way the corporate lifestyle was unhealthy and unnatural for me as a person until I was abruptly forced out of it at the same time as trying to find my way as a new mom and find that identity. So that was a very chaotic, mentally frustrating time for me,
Mhm.
which that also again, tipped me in eventually in the direction of I need to start doing all those things that I have not been putting my energy into, I wish, please. I mean, like, I guess it was because I had just become a mom. Otherwise, I probably would have started traveling the world like you did. Honestly, like I probably would have been like doing all of the things. But one of the things, not only did I put great emphasis back on yoga in my life and really use that to heal myself, which was already there. It was already a part of my life, but I you really needed it to heal. And then I started doing music again. So that was always something that was sort of like back burner. And also one of those things that I had a fire for that nobody understood. And that I even got laughed at for wanting to pursue that, for thinking who I was, that I could write songs and that you think you can be a singer. And it's like, but I am a singer now. I'm not famous and I don't intend to be. None of that crazy, none of that level stuff. But, those nudges that you feel from within you and when you're not pursuing them, you're not prioritizing them in any way, that's that hole that you feel something's missing. I need
Mhm.
more. Oh my God, like I
Exactly.
can't. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy we're here talking about this right now because it's so much in line with like the message I'm trying to get out here. So yeah, and you also are, simultaneously as working with women to help them find their purpose, to help them,
Mhm.
potentially start businesses, to help them heal a little bit probably from some,
Mhm.
things that are holding them back. And at the same time, you're working on yourself because one of the things that we've been talking about lately is your journey with talk therapy.
Mhm.
So tell us when that started for you and potentially why. I know we talked a little bit about like this being like kind of a vulnerable conversation, but
Mhm.
again, like I'm sure you'll agree, it's about normalizing the concept of getting the therapy and the treatment that you need if you're
Yeah.
struggling in some way. So tell us about that.
Yeah, vulnerability is my jam. So I love being vulnerable. It's so freeing. And I wish that more women could give themselves permission to just be fully transparent and vulnerable. That my life completely changed when I allowed myself to start showing up that way. So
Yeah,
these are the
we're
best
doing it
kind
here and
of
now.
conversations. And real quick, when you were sharing your story, first of all, holy cow, that's insane. getting laid off at 8 months pregnant. And I was working for a coach training company, and it was majority of my income. And I got my contract. I was an independent contractor, so I didn't get fired, but they canceled my contract at 4 months pregnant, and they were trying to sue me. And it was like, man, as you know, when you're getting ready to become a new mom, your head is just in a million different directions, and
Yeah.
all you're thinking about is the safety and well-being of your child. And so when you go through something traumatic and intense like that in your pregnancy, is like, holy cow. And man,
Not to
8
mention
months.
that from a health perspective, every woman is going to experience pregnancy a little bit different. I was lucky enough to have two really healthy pregnancies, but
Yeah,
I know women who struggle with, you know, hormones and, literal physical illness and emotional trauma the whole pregnancy. So like when I hear these stories, I'm just like, how like, how is it never taken into account? Like, can we just can we just be easy on us ladies? But
right. Yeah,
there's a
you're
lot to
fucking
go
alone.
into there. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, on a spiritual level and big picture level, right, there's something much more beautiful being birthed
Yep.
in addition to your baby. And so I do believe everything happens in divine timing. And my coaching business wouldn't be where it is today if I was still pouring all my energy into that other coach training company. So, and like with you leaving the corporate world, so it's
Right.
the universe just has a funny way of helping us out. And I like to say, like, we always get what we ask for. It just doesn't show up in the little pretty white box with the big red bow
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time.
I mean, and I like to just real quick, like I do feel like I asked for it, but like you don't always know it that you're asking for it, or
Right.
that it's the time. And like one of the things that happened to me, and I'm sure you can relate, as far as when you are in the process of starting your journey into motherhood, there's, like you just said, there's so much going on,
Hmm.
and you start to focus on the life your life as a mother, but your in your children's lives. And so I think big questions start to come into your, like, things that you maybe not have been addressing
Oh,
do
yeah.
start to come up. And when I was 5 months pregnant, I always tell this story because it's funny. When I was 5 months pregnant, before any of that happened, that's actually when I started to have this nudge to get back into music, which for me, like, you know, drawing in a creative, or a creative passion of some sort, is such an amazing way to like connect with your like true self, and like, develop like that intuition and self-trust. So I had this nudge while I was pregnant. And when I was 5 months pregnant, I found a guitarist to partner with, to like write some music with. I went on Craigslist and I found somebody local, and I walked into a bar at 5 months pregnant to meet this guy.
Oh
And
my
he
God.
looked at me and he was like, "Are you serious? Like, is this a joke?" Because I didn't tell him I was pregnant when we were just talking. We ended
Mhm.
up becoming really, really good friends and making music together for 3 years.
Wow.
Um, but when I, in retrospect, when I think about it, I'm like, I asked for a change. Like
Mm,
before
wow.
that happened, in a 3 month span, right? All of a sudden, like, I'm getting these nudges and I'm starting to listen to them,
Mhm.
listen to the messages that are going on. So it's like, again, it's like all comes back to like, how can we come to a place where we are at peace, like, and not living in the whirlwind of thoughts in our head, like really at peace in our mind, body, and soul, so that we can start listening to those messages, and then allow, like, the world, like, allow the universe to guide us a little bit, allow ourselves to move, to lean into that flow. And I think that coaching and therapy are for me too, like, have been a major part of coming to a place of fulfillment and peace, so that you can be okay flowing into those, where you're really meant to go.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like that this is a perfect segue into what you were asking, because you were asking about my journey into doing therapy, right?
Yeah, that's yes, that was the point. Like, let's
Yeah.
segue into it. Um, I see, like, your vulnerable shares on Facebook have been inspiring to me. And I have to mention, like, I'm at the beginning of my very first intro into talk therapy myself. So that's why I was like, we need to connect and talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of stigma around therapy, and then there's some stigma around coaching as well. And a lot of times people think that if you need a therapist or if you need a coach, like you're broken or something's wrong with you or something needs to be fixed. And I don't like that way of looking at it because it couldn't be further from the truth. I actually truly believe that the people who are the strongest are the ones who know how to let more support into their life and to know that we can't do life alone. When we try, it's chaotic, it's messy, it feels terrible. And then, yeah, we end up in all the, depressed, anxious, addictions, all the things. And so I know that when I am fully supported and I'm allowing support in, that's when life gets easier. That's when the success flows. And so with therapy, I'm trying to think. The first time I started it was when I was married and our marriage was really tough. And I didn't really understand. I was terrified to do it and I didn't really understand the whole concept of it, but I just was like, okay, this is the next thing to try in our marriage.
Hmm.
Since it's falling apart. And obviously, we ended up getting divorced anyways, but that was my first kind of intro into it. And then I took a break from therapy for a while. And then I recently just started to get back into it, especially like when at the end of my pregnancy. And the reason I needed to work with a therapist again is I was a labor and delivery nurse for 5 years prior to becoming a life coach. And I had seen a lot of traumatic births during that time. I delivered a lot of dead babies. I had a lot of women that had really terrible medical conditions. And
Wow.
so I wanted to make sure I didn't carry over that trauma into my own birth experience. And so that's when I was like, okay, I need to start working with a therapist again. And she specialized in birth trauma.
That's so
And
proactive. That's awesome.
yeah, I
Like,
wanted to give my son and myself, the best shot at, labor to have this really beautiful, empowered experience.
wow.
And so I'm still working with her today. I meet with her once a month online, and it's so funny because now our work has transitioned into healing the mother wound.
That's
And
huge.
yeah, and so I started following Bethany Webster, and she just released this book called, Healing the Mother Wound, and she specializes in this topic. And it's been, I truly believe that every woman should do this work, and it's just, it's for me, it was like the big aha of like why I have trouble speaking up. Why I feel like I'm a burden to people, why I'm a people pleaser, um, why sometimes I have trouble like feeling worthy and asking for my worth in my coaching packages still, and
Mm.
just all the things, and it all goes back to that mother wound. So I'm so grateful for my therapist who's like really helping me to do this deeper work around this so I can show up as my best self, as a business owner, as a partner to my boyfriend, as a mom for Lincoln. And so
Amazing.
therapy
That's
is
you
just,
just nailed
yeah.
it. Like, this is how we show up as our fullest, wholest self for the people that we
Hmm.
love,
Hmm.
and for the people who um we could help potentially heal as well. I always talk about that, like the fact that, like, like, forget even as coaches and like with our clients and stuff like that. That's one thing for sure, to actively want to help them grow and heal as well. But even if it's just I am working on myself so that I can show up, you know, accepting of myself, comfortable with myself, and be able to manage my relationships better,
Hmm.
and then send that ripple out into the world of, okay, well, now I didn't jump down your throat because you said that, and you're not jumping down my throat because I, reacted in that way. You are literally setting the rest of the world up. Like, it's like uplifting. You heal yourself and you can heal the world. You're literally
Yeah.
setting yourself up to come at life with compassion, come at your relationships with compassion and with
Mhm.
grace, as and it there's this ripple effect that occurs. And it's funny, like I've had some conversations with coaches that I've worked with in the past, for example, around limiting beliefs, which are huge, right? And it's like a lot of that came back to relationships that I had with family members that made me feel like I wasn't good enough. So so you have these voices of authority that you like, you believe these stories that are kind of like told to you, but in a passive way. And then they become these belief systems that you continue to live by and listen to when they're not actually real. But my point is that those relationships still remained so strained, and I had no idea why. So when I could like come to this place of understanding that I didn't have to live through those stories anymore, all of a sudden my relationship with these people in my life improved because I didn't have to attach those stories to that person anymore. I could see them as a whole individual, flaws and pros and cons, flaws and strengths, all of it. And I could actually, be in a room with them without being quite as triggered anymore. So it's like everything is connected when we start to work on these things. So you mentioned the mother wound.
Yeah.
It's massive to me. I'm reading for the second time Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Just finished that book.
Glennon Melton. Or
She's my
yeah, Glennon Doyle.
heroine. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like I'm rereading it. Like, cause I listened to it the first time on Audible, and then I was like, no, 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 I need the hardback and I need to
Mhm.
annotate and highlight. Like, I'm like, right. So, and one of the biggest things for me in connection to that mother wound in that book that I always like to talk about is like, you are, as a mother, you don't have to be a martyr in, in, um, in reverse of that, like against that would be like be a model. So like be a model to your children. So it's like another way that you can send that ripple effect
Right.
out by healing yourself. You heal yourself, you heal your children, but
Mhm.
also by being a martyr, I mean, again, like exactly what you said about your book, living your life the way that everybody thinks you should, or the way that you're quote supposed to. Um, which for a mother would be to sacrifice yourself for your children
Right.
every step of the way.
Mhm.
And in reality, what are we teaching our kids when we do that? What are we
Exactly.
teaching our daughters when we do that? I mean, the sons need to see it too, because they need to watch a woman prioritize herself watch their mother prioritize herself alongside her family, so that when they get into their own relationships down the line, they see the equality and how that works on both sides. But again, like, what are we teaching our daughters who are watching us? I have a 5-year-old daughter who now now works out with me. Like I let her, with
That's
virtual learning,
amazing.
I let her pop off her virtual gym class to work out with me now. And she
Uh-huh.
loves it. So, and it's like, in my head is always like, thank goodness, like she's watching me prioritize my health.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And even when it's not with her, like even when I'm legitimately like, mommy needs 30 minutes. Ouch, go, like, because I'm either doing yoga or I'm meditating or I'm journaling or I'm exercising or whatever I'm doing. Like, having a system for that, so that you are not sacrificing yourself and your own needs and wants and desires and dreams for your family.
Mhm.
You need to model how each both things can be upheld and prioritized together.
Mhm.
So like, what does the mother wound mean to you? Like, that's what comes up for me among other things. It's like a lot. But what does it mean to you? Like, how is it resonated for you?
Yeah, so what the mother wound means to me is it's you're healing all these unhealed wounds and generational trauma that's been passed down through the lines of mothers. And right, so someone has to break the pattern. And so that's why it is so important to do the self-reflection work, the self-development work. So that way, yeah, you don't keep, I mean, no one ever wants to harm their children, but unconsciously we're passing down our trauma, our fears, our beliefs, our limiting stories onto our children every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, my mom's got a lot of stuff. She grew up poor and she lost my brother after he had cystic fibrosis. So he only lived a little over a year. So there's a lot of
God.
sadness there. Her mom was raped at a young age, was depressed and alcoholic. And so, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And I was like, I don't want any of their stuff. And then I don't want to pass down their stuff onto Lincoln. And so that's why I was like, I need to do this work. I need to work with a therapist. I need to, I liked what you said earlier of like, yeah, when you do therapy and when you do coaching, all of your relationships are going to improve in your life. And that's what I always do an exit survey with my private clients. And every single one of them says they've noticed all their relationships have improved. And so it's true. When you prioritize working and healing on yourself, everything else is going to improve and change in your life. But it really does. It has to start with yourself first. So, right, if you have that husband and he's annoying, or he's saying these things, or he's not doing stuff, and you're so focused on like, why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? Which I know I'm so guilty of.
Mm-hmm.
Stop focusing on what people aren't doing enough of, or what people aren't doing right in your life, and focus more on what's going on with you, right? Because our relationships are mirrors for ourselves. So
Totally.
so anytime you want to improve a situation, a relationship in your life, do the work yourself. And you can do some stuff alone, right? But you're going to get quicker and deeper results when you have a professional to help you through that too.
I agree. I mean, that's exactly what I was saying to you before we hopped on. I have a call scheduled for the very first time with a therapist on my end, probably I think later today. Um, for that exact reason. Like I've been doing so much work on myself, working with a few different coaches, really, like I said, using yoga and meditation as a base for like self-awareness and self-acceptance and all that stuff. And I've come leaps and bounds with that process, but I 100% feel it now that there is more work to be done, that I can't really it's like it's guidance to do it. It's like, okay, well, what door do I open first? Kind of like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of
Right.
doors.
There's a lot of doors. Yeah.
There's a lot of pathways to drift
Right.
down. Because like you said, there is generational trauma to unveil and to like to evaluate and see, and once I always say this, actually, one of my coaches that I worked with, like I always repeat this because she said it and it was like a light bulb went off. You shine a light on your demons and they start to scurry real fast, and I do 100% agree with that, because and the reason that I always say it is because I know it's daunting for people to either whatever it is, like if it's therapy, or even if it's just incorporating self-care into your life for spiritual and emotional wellness, like journaling, um or working with a coach, something that is going to um kind of force you to talk about things that you haven't addressed, to open these doors, to start these conversations. It can be daunting. I have clients and people who have told me like, "Oh, I can't journal. I can't do that." And it's like, it's because you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. And that's okay. Like it is daunting. It can be, it is it does rock your boat a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
But a little goes a long way, I find. Like as soon as, like I said, like you shine the light on the demons, they start to scurry real fast, like because it's the awareness. It's like that's the first step. It's like the awareness that, oh,
Mhm.
there is this issue. You are actively becoming aware of it then every time it pops up for you, and then slowly but surely you could figure out what to do, how to navigate it. You have to become self-aware first. You shine
Mhm.
the light, like peek through the
Right.
hole. um So, and we talked a little bit about vulnerability already. Um, and one of your posts recently like hit home for me. You were talking about sensitivity. And
Mm.
especially, I think that that goes hand in hand. Hi, babe. I'm in the middle of a thing. Can you go up and I'll be right there? No, I need about 10 minutes. Go up and I'll be right there. This is what happens. We're in the midst of virtual kindergarten, so
Oh
she's
boy.
on break. So, anyway, that's what I was going to say about vulnerability, sensitivity, and communication. So, um, we like even what I was just saying about, being okay to open up about certain things that you haven't addressed. There is a vulnerability to that. Like and even the word vulnerable, you know, we're almost told that it's like this negative thing, that it's weakness.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's like that. I find that that's part of the generational trauma that's been passed down. These stories about things being good or bad, about being vulnerable and open being bad, and being about and showing your weakness. And so the same thing with sensitivity, and that goes hand in hand with the mother wound, because I feel like that's something that women struggle with. We're told that we're too sensitive. And in reality, it is a strength, which you said, which you talked about. Um, and allows you to not only internalize in a healthy way, but potentially to even communicate your needs. So, in other words, and I always say this just to people, it's like you're not too sensitive. Don't ask yourself, why am I so sensitive? Maybe if you are in a situation where things are getting a little out of hand with like one of your relationships, it's more like, why do I feel so triggered?
Right.
Not, so you're looking within then, as,
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
back to what you were saying in the beginning. But yeah, so talk to me a little bit about what that means to you, like your ability to be sensitive, your ability to therefore communicate what is going on with you.
I love that question that you asked. Yeah. Instead of focusing on why am I too sensitive, saying why am I triggered? Right. Completely different things. Because
Yeah.
sensitivity, I'm so
That's not
grateful
the
that.
issue. The sensitivity is not the issue. That's the strength.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm so grateful that my coaches have been able to show me that it is. Most people who identify as coaches, therapists, healers, teachers, they are going to be sensitive. And it's a good thing because it allows you to feel things on a deeper level. It allows you to connect with human beings on a deeper level and really lets you to do this powerful work of helping people to change and have breakthroughs. And so it's really a beautiful thing
Yeah.
when someone is sensitive. But yeah, unfortunately, that term, like, why are you so sensitive? And my mom said that to me before, it gets really a bad reputation. And then we start to self sabotage and we think something's wrong with us. And I did for the longest time. And so, I've decided to change that story. And I'm so grateful that I am this way. And it's so beautiful. And it allows me to show up into the world how I do. And
Right.
so that's what I really, want to teach a lot of women of, just anything that we have or that we are born with. I actually interviewed an author recently, and she wrote a book called The Gifts of ADD. And again, mental health, ADD, it's something a lot of times people think, oh, why am I so broken? What's wrong with me? And she really teaches people, like, when you have ADD, ADHD, it allows you to be an amazing entrepreneur because you're multi-passionate. You're not afraid to take risk. You're not afraid to say these bold things, right? So I really do think we need more people and leaders out
Not
there
so inhibited.
teaching,
Yeah.
yeah, teaching people that the things that you have that maybe your whole life you've been categorizing as wrong or bad, really, how can these be your super strengths and help you to achieve the things that you want to achieve in this world?
I feel like it comes down to that, like, again, it comes back to that again and again and again. Even if you're talking about like starting a business or like, just enacting some kind of big change in your life, not even pertaining to like your mental wellness or anything like that. Even if it's like a goal that you want to achieve, it all comes down to that. It's like, are you prepared to step outside of your comfort zone and allow yourself to be vulnerable in that you might very well fail. You might very well make mistakes. You might very well be judged or whatever.
Mhm.
Are you willing to step into that space that, again, is a vulnerable space, but that is a good thing? You allow that's bravery. Stepping into that space is brave. It takes courage, and that is the only way that you grow. So you can literally connect it also with any kind of self-care that promotes mental or emotional wellness is going to take the courage to open up.
Mhm.
It's all, and then on the other end of that is also growth on so many levels, not only growth mentally and emotionally, it could mean growth um personally and financially, because you're now breaking through these barriers of shit that are just holding you back, right? So I just like, like I like to connect the two, because not only are we talking about therapy, but we're both in the coaching world. So it's like, let's get there. Let's
Mhm.
get beyond this muddy stuff and keep in our minds, especially as women and mothers, that when we do that, we're healing, we're setting the example, not only for our children, but for other women, for other women. It's like, I mean, I have a virtual mom circle that I started last year and I just brought back, totally free, bi-weekly, like we just go. And so it's kind of like mom therapy for a good hour,
Love
whatever.
that.
And we just hold each other, we hold space for each other. And I mean, it was a little heart-wrenching, our session last week, because these moms were like, especially with the distance learning and the pandemic and the social, environment that's going on right now, everybody's struggling, and they just looked at me and they were like, "What the fuck is self-care?" Like, like it's kind of like the disconnection, the complete disconnection. And it's just like I want to reel them in and say, "No. No. It doesn't have to be like this, where we feel like we're not allowed to prioritize ourselves, and that we are, as mothers, are being selfish when we prioritize our self-care. It's a story that you were told. It's a
Right.
story
Absolutely.
that you were told. It's not truth. It's literally a story. It's just made up and handed to you, and you're still living by it.
Mhm.
Um, just, all kinds of messages that are so important. Um, so this has been amazing. I want to just allow you just one last moment to either give any final words, or like any recommendations on, like, in addition to therapy, like other types of self-care that have worked for you for like emotional wellness. And also tell us like how we can connect with you and find you, if you
Yeah.
wouldn't mind.
Yeah. For final words, I would say that everyone gets to decide what self care looks like for them. No one gets to decide that for you. So, whether it's hiking, traveling, journaling, sleeping, um,
Sleep.
like,
Yes.
yeah, um, doing Krav Maga, like, I don't know, there's, you get to really, you get to decide that. And so I think once you really hone in on that, you give yourself permission to do self care, and then you ask yourself the question, what does self care look like for me? That's going to be, your best guiding answer right
Yeah.
there to finding balance in your life and becoming the best version of you. And we can't tell someone what to do. We can't tell someone that, okay, you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to take care of yourself. It doesn't work like that, because it looks so different for each person.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
I used to say everyone needs a life coach, everyone needs a therapist, and I've stopped saying that because it's not true. I can't say the things that work for me. I can't tell other people that they need it because it's worked for me. I can tell people about my experience and say how it's worked for me, but at the end of the day, they get to really decide what self care looks and feels like for them.
Yeah. It's what
Yeah,
it does for you. It's a very personal thing, not what it is. I always say that. It's not
yeah,
about what it is, it's what it does for you.
mhm,
What do
yeah.
you need?
Mhm.
This has been amazing. I
Yeah,
really appreciate your time. I am looking forward to staying connected with you. I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability, as we said a million times here. Um, thank you, because this is, inspiring, hopefully, other moms and women to
Mhm,
prioritize
mhm.
themselves, which is
Absolutely.
amazing. So I'll let you go. Thank you again.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, maybe we'll have another conversation at some point. It's like
definitely.
so many roads you can go down with this, right?
And yeah, you were
Thank
asking
you.
how people could stay in touch. So, just going to my website, www.kristakathleen.com. That is kind of like my hub for everything, right? So you can find my Facebook group on there. I'll be selling my book on there, my courses,
Amazing.
my coaching packages. Everything's there.
Amazing. I am all about reading this book, Krista.
Yeah,
Like, that sounds like right up my alley. I need to hear your story. I'm down. And
love
thank
it.
you for sharing it again,
Of course.
right?
Of course.
Amazing. Thank you again so much. Hey, thanks for watching. Definitely subscribe to the channel for more videos on yoga, meditation, all things self-care for true self-alignment, mind, body, soul. Say it with me. Self-care is my job.